We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the CashFlow Pro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show. Hey there, and welcome to the CashFlow Pro podcast and channel. We want to welcome you and thank you for joining us today. I am with Charlie Wessel of Cordell Capital. Charlie, how are you today, sir?
I am wonderful, buddy. I'm wonderful.
Man, that's great. It's good to hear. It's a rainy day here in Western Kentucky, but hopefully the sun is shining when you're listening to this and where you are. So anyhow, Charlie, I want to kind of start back a little bit. I always like to put a little bit of a personal level into these things so that people can understand where you were, where you came from, and then, of course, then we can obviously get into how you got to where you are and how the capital raising became a part of your life. So tell us a little bit about who you are and where you come from.
Yeah, man. I live here in Charleston, South Carolina. Been married for 20 years, got a 12-year-old son, twin 8-year-old girls. Life's good, man. You know, we're from the Carolinas here and just picked this beautiful spot to live in.
Sure, man, that's great. Carolinas, I never could have told by your accent where you were from. No, I tell you, I love the Carolinas. Carolinas are kind of their own country. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah. The people there are great. And anyhow, so well, tell us a little bit about let's kind of jump into Cordell Capital. What led you there? And obviously, are you the founder, the owner?
I am. Yeah, I'm the founder and principal of Cordell Capital, and yeah, I was a general contractor here in Charleston for 12 years, and got tired of managing a bunch of crayon eaters, and it was tough. Being in general contracting business is tough business, man. So I sold that business several years ago, and we had some rental houses and knew I didn't want to go that route. So I talked to some buddies of mine that were in commercial real estate, and they had said, multifamily is the way to go.
Yep.
So that's where we're at now. We raise capital for multifamily deals. We got a few operators that we raise capital for. And
awesome.
Yeah, it's been good.
Where are your multifamily deals at? Geographically, where are they at?
We are spread all over the place, man. We have we just closed on 122 units in Des Moines, Iowa, with FTW, Logan Freeman, and those guys.
Yes.
We got one in Houston right now that we're raising capital for, and then we have one in Georgia, one in Columbia, South Carolina, and one in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Awesome, man. That's great. So what led you down the path of so you said you had a couple of rentals, like single family rentals.
Yeah.
And then you had some buddies that were like, man, multifamily is definitely the way to go. I think that's kind of the same broken record that all of us tend to talk about is, man, we were, the level of experience I think we all share is to some degree tied to single family something or another, because it becomes a job. There's nothing passive about owning single family rentals unless you have on-site managers and just
right,
because you become in the service business basically is what you end up. But
absolutely.
So tell us, I want to ask a couple of different questions, and it doesn't have to be property specific because I know every deal is different and it would take all day to go through each deal. But what are some things that you do and use to find properties that are worthy of making a move on and taking down the path of raising capital and closing on?
We find operators that have a proven track record, and these guys, we spent like a year and almost 2 years looking for properties, chasing them all over the Southeast, talking to brokers. We made it to the best and final on several of them, and we got awarded one of them, and it fell apart in due diligence. So it was just,
Wow.
I'm telling you, it was a lot of time and effort and money poured into it.
Yeah. What type of due diligence issues did you specifically have? Just to make it realistic, to bring the reality of it.
Yeah. So one of the properties that we were awarded, it had PVC cleanouts stubbed out of the ground. And when I sent when we sent our plumber, our plumbing company over to go scope all the lines, he said, "Man, I've never seen this before." He said, "But it's all polybutylene piping with PVC pipes stuck out of it, with like fern cones attached to them." I was like, "What?" So that was going to be about a $350,000 bill, changing out all that, and we pulled the plug on it pretty quick.
Man. Because obviously somebody was trying to, that could have ended really bad. So I mean, and that's one of the things that, due diligence checklists are one of those things that you can always have like a standard checklist, like, hey, check the toilets, check the floors, check the lights, check the this, check the that. But then you get into some of that specialty stuff that man, I mean, really costs money, and not just money, but big money.
Oh yeah.
What was the purchase price?
Man, that was about 4 years ago. I don't remember exactly. We've been through so many deals since then, and they didn't fun.
I was just curious on a percentage basis what $350,000 would have looked like had you closed and then been stuck with that. But
you know what? It was about 100. I remember it was about 126 units, and that was
pretty decent.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent sized place.
Yeah, and then that's kind of one of those deals where you're just like, dang, so close but yet so far.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us, you said you made mention there a minute ago, and of course everybody, I think all of my listeners anyway, know that I'm a huge proponent of fund of funds, and part of the fund of funds setup or is the ability for diversification, but at the top of the ability for diversification, to me, is the operator in and of itself, in and of him or herself. So tell me a little bit, you made mention that you look for operators and you try to find operators that are, worthy of, I guess, further look to see what they've got going on and how they act. So I want to hear a little bit about compare and contrast what I look for in an operator and what you look for in an operator, because I got an idea there's going to be a lot of common thread there. But tell me a little bit about what you look for in an operator.
Well, first of all, I have to know them for over a year. Like I want to have known these people for over a year, seen what kind of deals they've done. I make them, of course, send me their track record, and I want, 2 of their best deals, a deal that went okay, and then I want the one that they fell on their face. I want the worst deal they've ever done.
Yep.
And that's usually the one that you don't do, but I want the one they did do that did not turn out well.
Yep.
And believe it or not, man, in this business, there's not a lot of them where you really fall on your face.
That's right. I mean, in the time, and keep in mind the times that we've been through, there's been, if you fell on your face in the last 10 years, it's been most likely self-induced or
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Something along those lines. So there's gonna come a time when the syndication world in general has some woes to it. I mean, because we've been in a pretty bullish market since really 10, 11, 12, something like that.
We have. But the thing that backs us, man, the thing that backs me and you, Casey, is that these are brick and mortar investments.
That's right.
You don't wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and wait.
That's right.
So if you fall into a slump for a couple of years, you'll be back well above where you started within another year or two from that. You know what I mean?
And I often tell this. I often give this comparison, and for one, standing today, looking back across the last 15 years, or even 16 years really to really get a full effect. But let's say you bought an apartment building. Let's just say you bought a 100-unit apartment building in 2005. Okay, now obviously if you know what's coming in 2005, you're in a different business. But nevertheless, it's 2005. You buy a 100-unit apartment building. Now 2008 hits, and all of a sudden you are the biggest moron there ever was. Who in the hell would ever buy blah 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 blah, right? 2008. Now follow me and say, okay, now we're in 2022 and we're looking back. Would you or would you not take that same 100-unit apartment complex at 2005's price, even if you never paid a dime down on the principal between the two?
Absolutely, because
it's solid. I mean, it's solid. You can't.
You know what the crazy thing is, Casey, is that it was solid in 2012.
Yeah.
That same apartment complex that you bought in 2005, everybody thought that you were going to go under in 2007, 2008. By 2012, you just sold it and doubled everybody's money.
That's right. And then another 10 years, you've doubled it again or tripled it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just, and the thing is that, you know, one thing that I look for in an operator, and this is my very first, and it's similar to what you say, now, the knowledge of who they are, I tend to fast track that a little bit myself based on not a full year, but based on like what people that I've known recommend, you know, almost like they have to be recommended. I mean, in order to put some type of scale behind that, to move it along and say, hey, let's get these operators. But I like to look at the properties that they manage, not just the financials.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like go out and talk to the, you know, are the tenants getting what they need, what they're paying for?
Right.
Are they, you know, they're paying rent no matter whether it's high or low or whatever it is at that point, they're paying rent. What is the quality of their life? I mean, not obviously everybody has their own personal circumstances, but I'm talking about the quality of the life they have in the asset that you're potentially going to own a share in.
Right. And I'll be honest with you, Casey, you can find that out real quick. All you got to do is ask for a maintenance report from one of their properties, because most of them are going to use something like AppFolio or something like that that's got an extensive maintenance record. They know exactly when that came in. They know what the problem was. They know how fast it took for somebody to get out there and how fast it was resolved. That's so right. If you're looking at the maintenance records on these places, you can see how they're taking care of the tenants. You know, I mean, if you got a bunch of stuff hanging out there 15 days, 30 days, that's no good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I guess some of that's going to have to be, there's going to have to be some mitigation for that because of the way the hiring and the abilities and supply chain stuff's going right now. It's just kind of, everything is kind of skewing some of those records. I feel like that's going to be a big deal as we move forward, especially with, you know, especially with the labor, what seems to be a labor shortage maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe an ability to pay shortage. I don't know, but so tell us a little bit when you're kind of vetting these operators, what other high points? So you know them for a year, and you or you know you've potentially done some background research on them in that time. What from an operational standpoint do you look for?
Reports. We need good reports coming out of these guys. I mean, it's so easy to do. Most of them are templated. You know, you get a few pictures from the property manager. You know, I'm not even talking about the financial reports. I'm just talking about we need a good report on what's happening with the place. Yeah. And it's usually, yeah. And I mean, usually usually every time the property manager puts that together, you just send them a template. Say, look, this is what I want. I want, you know, 2 to 3 pictures with this. We want to know what's happening there at the property. You know, what have you done for the tenants? You know, what kind of function or whatever have you put on there? You know, like donut days or Taco Tuesdays, have a food truck come up or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Book bag drives are a huge thing, taking care of the kids.
Sure. And I tell you, because one thing that really piques my ears up, or whatever it is when the first part of a business plan, the first part of the business plan of the acquisition of an asset is to increase rents. And I'm always like, okay, so we're going to increase rents, right? Yeah, that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to go right in. All right, well, time out. We're going to increase rents, but what basis are we going to use to do that? Because, there was also a time, we've talked about the mid 2010, 2004, 3, 4, 5. There was a time as the 2000s wore on where, man, there was signs everywhere: free plasma TVs, free MacBooks, free this, free that, sign a year lease and get this. So, it hasn't always been gravy. But what I'm getting at is that kind of stuff is what we need to look at.
Yeah. And I do apologize because I think our landscaper showed up at our office today. So there's like a blower going off right outside my window right now.
That's cool, man. That's cool. At least you're taking good care of where you're at. That's what we want to hear. So,
yeah.
But that's when we're looking at operators and stuff and trying to figure out who is going to be the most beneficial for our investors. It just seems like all of those things come into play. Now, you've done some individual one-off syndications where you just find an apartment building and you gather investors, and then you go and you try to you work through the financing and all of that stuff. How many of those separate deals like that have you done?
We're working on number 5 right now.
Number 5.
Yeah, number 5 will be in Houston. We haven't done the fund to funds deal. We're sticking to the guns on the one-off syndication kind of deal, but
sure,
I got a lot of buddies like you that are doing the fund to funds deal, and they love it.
Yeah. Well, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. When you start talking about what works better for different operator, different people in general,
right.
And the main thing that we look for is fund to funds is more geared towards people that want to be severely diversified,
right?
And one-off syndications are geared for people who are like, hey man, I can stomach a little more risk and I don't mind having my money in one spot and then go from there. But it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other as far as what works for people, because everybody's got different ways of going about it. Now the other thing is people can do a little bit in each. And then you stay kind of balanced and you keep those, you keep that balance between the two. So, all right. So on these one-off syndications, and obviously those come from, I'm assuming, broker relationships and things like that. Is that where you tend to find some of these single properties?
No, if I talk to a broker, something's gone horribly wrong about, a deal that we haven't done yet. Now, I talk to brokers on deals that the particular operator has brought to us. Yep. That's kind of why I do what I do now, is so that I don't have to deal with brokers. I don't have to deal with the actual property managers. Besides just a quick interview on what the deal, what their perspective of the opportunity is. We all know what the broker's perspective of the opportunity is. It's through the roof, man. You guys are going to make all the money in the world. Broker opinion of values are about as worth as much as, the Russian dollar right now. So, I take all those guys with a grain of salt, especially their comps, their everything else. I mean, we run everything through CoStar. There's a few other programs, but rarely do I spend more than 15 minutes looking at what the brokers put together, because it's usually, it's the sunny.
Well, I always said take that and cut it in half, not to discount the knowledge of any of the brokers that are listening or anything like that, but somebody that's in the business of telling me all of the high points and the best points and the good points, and doesn't say, hey man, by the way, that sewer pipe, you might want to have that check. I'm just kidding. Obviously nobody would have known to do that necessarily.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're on your due diligence checklist. But I always said take what the brokers tell you, and you can average, be like, well, half. I mean, I was a real estate broker. I know the whole gamut. You're trying to make a sale,
right?
And you don't make a sale by saying, hey man, that floor's rotten over there, that roof needs to be fixed there, that hole over there needs to be filled in, and by the way, there's a parking lot needs to be resealed. That's you make the money by saying, hey man, the thing's got a new HVAC, it's got to do this, blah blah blah. And so I get that. So I figure if like you just cut it in half and say, here it is, this is what you got. But so when you run everything through the analysis platforms, and then does that also take into account the comps as far as rent comps? Like what are different things renting for in the area?
Right. Yeah. And once again, we rely on our own us underwriting the deal, as well as our sponsors, because our sponsors are very conservative in their underwriting.
The key sponsors, you mean the people that are
right? The operators that we invest with.
Gotcha.
So that I have a lot of faith in their abilities to do what they do.
Sure.
Some of them are even vertically integrated, where they have their own management company. They're also gonna be the operators of the apartment. They have asset managers managing their property managers. So
well, that all kind of comes down where being vertically integrated was something that initially, when I first got in this business, I was like, man, that's not right. That just seems like it opens the door for a lot of accusations if something were to go wrong or whatever the case is. But at the same time, a guy I was talking to the other day who's vertically integrated with property management, he's like, listen, man, I've got my hands on that money from the time it comes in until the time it goes back to my investors, and it leaves to chance very little. Now, obviously, there's still going to be maybe a secretary or something that decides to pocket a month's rent off someplace and whatever. Yeah. There's always going to be those types of isolated incidents, but it leaves to chance. And the other thing is that it's that what he was telling me is saying, hey man, listen, my investors deserve to have property management at break even. All right. So we're running a property management company and we're not charging anything for it. Mm-hmm. Then we're maximizing the profit for everybody. We're definitely maximizing it back for the investors.
Yeah.
So the vertically integrated part is something that I've actually come to really admire and get for somebody that has the fortitude to handle property management, because my Lord, it's I used to, when I was sold real estate, I would say the property management was the armpit of real estate. It just is not very fun at all.
It's not at all. Yeah, I always said, man, property managers and police officers are the two least appreciated jobs in the country.
That's right.
Hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the CashFlow Pro podcast and YouTube channel. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making CashFlow Pro part of your day. Now, back to the show.
Unfortunately, the property managers' percentages are getting smaller and smaller as cap rates compress and as things just tend to kind of draw down to where we've all seen them going for so long. I was actually talking to another guy the other day, and we were talking about the potential of cap rates going to zero or even below zero. And at that point, it's going to, because I've always been a proponent of not buying for appreciation. You buy for cash flow, period, end of story. If it doesn't cash flow, you stay away from it. And some of these guys are going to step in and say, man, I think this property is going to go up and be worth more, so we can take the suffrage of a small loss every month and over the short term, and the goal being sell for the appreciation. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
I mean, I was at a conference not long ago where there's a lot of guys in Austin, and it was like 2 guys in Austin and 2 guys somewhere else, and they said that they don't expect any cash flow for like the first 3 years, 0 cash flow, and it's a 5-year hold, and like the 4th year, they were getting, I don't know, 2% or something, out to their investors. And so, I mean, your investors are basically just banking on the appreciation on the property. I have 0 interest in any of that whatsoever. But
yeah, and I think again it comes down to risk appetite. I mean, what's the risk appetite for individuals that have $1 billion in the bank is probably a little greater than with $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 investment than it is for somebody who's got $1 million in the bank and somebody is asking for $300,000. I mean, it's obviously the risk appetite is different, and the ability to hold, also is a big deal too. So well, Charlie, tell us. I want to kind of go in here just a little bit further and say, where your investors, when you're looking at trying to bring investors into your fold and into your business and sharing with them what you've got, where do you find investors mostly? I mean, are they personal? Are you still doing personal friends, family? Do you have, what types of situations do you have set up to attract those?
It really is. Most of it's personal friends and family, and then recommendations from those friends and family. I mean, friends and family run out of money pretty quick. Especially my friends and family, but we have a good active campaign set up. We're actually working with Yakov Smart. I have a 3:00 call with him today, and to put together our LinkedIn platform. We post on LinkedIn, we post on Facebook every single day. So yeah, I mean, we're reaching out, and we've gotten several investors that, I mean, I got one investor never even wanted to have a phone call. He wouldn't even want to have a phone call. He was he was like, look, man, I've been doing this for years. I know what a good deal looks like. He said, I'll just wire you the money.
There you go. Sign the documents and wire the money. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Also, I think that's kind of the one everybody's looking for. But
I'm telling you.
At the same time, I try to make sure that I'm not. I always said if I had to drag somebody in, I have to drag them around, and I don't want to. I have enough in my life I drag around as it is. I don't need to voluntarily bring somebody in that then has to be patted on the shoulder every day and tell them that their investment's safe. You know what I mean? It's a difficult scenario. So,
I have at least 4 people that I have not even allowed to invest with us, and I got one guy that's invested with us in one deal that.
Yeah, and that's they're not all created equal. That's for sure. And part of what you and I do is creating passive income for somebody, not act. We don't want to invite them in as an active partner.
Right.
We want to invite them in as a passive partner, somebody that just says, hey, yeah, send me my check, send me my principal when I, return my capital when it's time, and everything will be good. You don't want somebody that says, man, I need, hurrying people along. You don't need that in your organization. It just tends to throw a kink in just about every chain there is.
It does. And I tell you what, though, I mean, all my investors, they all have my cell phone number. They all have a link that they can schedule a call whenever they want to. They text me, email me, and I don't mind.
Yeah, transparency. I mean, then that way, as long as I always in the real estate business felt like, people won't call if they know they can.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? If they know they can't, then they might go to the ends of the earth to try to run you down.
Right.
Especially when they think something's wrong. So anyhow, well, Charlie, listen, man, we're kind of running out of time here. I want to thank you for being on the show today. I want to thank you for any information that you've given out that might help somebody just maybe just kind of push them over the edge of saying, hey, yeah, I want to invest, and maybe I want to talk to you and see what you all have to offer. So I want you to tell the listeners how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, they can find us on Cordell Capital. That's Cordell Capital.com. Like I said before, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. We post on Instagram as well. My virtual assistant takes care of all that.
Sure.
So if you send me a message on Instagram, she's just going to screenshot it and send it to me, and I'll tell her what to reply, because I don't have Instagram on my phone. But
I got you. Well, all right, man. Well, listen, hey, thank you everybody for listening today. Charlie, I want to thank you. And that's Cordell, C-O-R-D as in dog, E-L-L capital.com. If you're interested in investing with Charlie or want to pick his brain about something, I'm sure he won't mind. Shoot him an Instagram message, a Facebook message, send up a smoke signal, whatever you got to do to try to get a hold of this man. He's in the game and he's ready to help. So, Charlie, again, thank you, sir. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it as well, man. Good talk to you.
Have a wonderful rest of the day.
You too, bud.
CashFlow Pro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.